Hi everyone, welcome back for more stitching fun with Spellbinder Stencil of the Month for April. I love working with this layering stencil set. It is easy to use and it is a great opportunity to play with color. After card 3, I had to stop myself because I had other things to do. This is a 5-piece stencil set and I'm working with either Altenews Fresh Dye inks or the Positively Saturated inks. The first 2 stencils will alternate between the 6 skeins of embroidery floss. I've laid out the 6 inks in the order that I'm going to use them and then have pulled out the 1st, 3rd, and 5th inks for the first stencil. Using a blending brush, rose quartz is applied to the first skein. Then moving on to the 3rd skein, I'm applying a pink that is quite a bit darker because there will be another skein between these two. This one is being colored with Puffy Heart. Because the pinks are getting darker with each skein, I don't bother cleaning my brush in between them. This last ink is a rich purplish red called Cosmic Berry. As I move on to my next stencil, I'll be starting off with inks that are lighter again, so the brush will be rubbed on some paper towel until most of the ink has been removed. All of the stencils have an A2 registration outline to line up the panel to, and I'm just using some post-it note on the back to hold everything in place. Out of the original lineup of 6, this is the 2nd, 4th, and 6th ink pads. The 2nd skein is being inked with Coral Berry. Then I'll move on to the 4th skein, which is being done in Purple Wine. And the base color of the skeins is finished up with the final skein being colored with Ruby Red. The 3rd stencil is going to add in some thread detail, so I'm going to rearrange my inks. I've removed my 1st ink, which was the lightest tone, and I'm adding on a darker one at the end. For each of the skeins, the thread detail will be 1 tone deeper. The 1st skein, with its base of rose quartz, that light pink, is being given some detail with Coral Berry. And then I'll just continue working through the skeins, adding on the colors in the same order that they were applied before, but putting a darker tone on each one. The skeins are closer together, so I've switched from the blending brush and I'm using a dauber for this stencil. And for the last skein, I'm going to use the color that I've added on, a deep wine red called Grapevine. For the 4th stencil, I'll be applying Distress Oxide Black Soot, and I'm going to be using an ink pouncer. I actually didn't try this with the blending brush, and it probably would work equally as well. This tool is used just as the name suggests. The ink is pounced on, so you're coming straight down on the stencil, and it is a great way to catch all of that fine detail crisply. For the final stencil, I wanted to have a really sparkly finish. My gold texture paste wasn't going to do it for me, so I'm going to start off with the Copic marker Y28, which is gold, and color in all of those details. And then using a palette knife, I'll apply a coat of Gold Coast Nouveau glitter drops. I really love Tonic Studios glitter drops. They are very sparkly. In fact, I can't find anything that is more sparkly except for glitter. Because such a thin layer is being applied, it doesn't take long to dry, and just look at that result. For the blue-green palette, I started off with Sea Glass, then Ocean Waves, Dusk, Silver Sage, Jade, and then finished up with Eucalyptus. And of course, I'm not listing the inks in the order in which they were applied, but rather the order in which they appear on the card. And for stencil 3, I've removed that 1st ink, which was the light blue, because I'm applying a darker tone to each skein, and I've added on Forest Fern onto the end. Of course, this is my favorite part. After the Nouveau glitter drops go on, just look at that shine. If you're interested in the colors that were used in the yellow-orange card, they'll be listed on my blog at bonniecarolee.com. These cards will be finished off with some fun elements from the large die of the month. The needle and thread were cut from both silver foil cardstock, colored cardstock, and black sheet foam. To stack these fine elements, the black foam die cuts were left in the backing. Post-it note tape was used on the back to hold that foam die cut in tightly. These are such fine die cuts that you can see the edges are pulling away a little bit, and I need it nice and tight so I can easily stack it. Already threaded the needle and stacked the needle onto the foam, and now I can add some adhesive to the foam thread. And where the top of the needle is going to overlap the thread, I'm just going to snip off that little bit of foam. The foam die cut in the backing will leave an impression, so it's very easy to align the cardstock one to it. The drying time when using foam is longer, but it is important to let it dry completely before removing it from the backing. Large die of the month also has a cute skein die cut, which I've coordinated with the color of the thread, and it also has been cut from black sheet foam. And of course, this is much easier to stack, and now I just need to add on the 2 little black band details. The 3 panels were trimmed down to 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches and mounted on A2 size black top folding card bases. For the yellow-orange card and blue-green card, I'm using sentiments from the Glimmer of the Month. These fun sentiments were hot foiled with aura on white cardstock. Coordinating die was used to cut both the sentiment and black foam so that they could be stacked. After the sentiment was adhered to the card front, then it was finished off with the needle, thread, and skein. Not on this card, but on the other 2, where any of the thread or needle crossed over onto another piece, I just snipped the foam out so that it would overlap nicely. If you are a subscriber to the Deluxe Caboodle Club, the sentiment that is on this card is the bonus item, and it also includes 2 other sentiments and the banner die. I wanted the bands on the die cut skeins to match those of the stenciled ones. First, I'll put in the detail with a gold gel pen. Then I'll go over top of it with a fine line of gold glitter drops. And these cards are finished up with some glittery gold crystals that match perfectly with the details on the bands. And that completes these 3 cards featuring Spellbinder Stencil of the Month. Whether you are a stitcher or not, you are going to absolutely love this month's clubs. They are just so much fun. The stencil of the month is one of my favorites. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I loved making these cards. As always, I appreciate your visit.